What's up, everybody? It is game day. Tonight is the Four Nations Championship game between USA and Canada. This is Morning Cup of Hockey presented by Bet365. Open an account with Bet365 today and bet on a huge range of markets. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. So use our code NATION, NATION. Across from me is Colby Cohen. I'm Johnny Lazarus, and we got a loaded show for you today. And a reminder that we will have a show tomorrow as well to talk about everything that does transpire this evening. So I know the chat loves or has been asking us to do a Friday show. We are finally going to do one. So please do not forget that we will be live tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. But before we go into anything else, Colby, how you feeling on game day?
I don't feel great, Johnny. I'll be honest. And it has nothing to do with the hockey game.
Make it.
It has absolutely nothing to do with the hockey game. It's you. You're a big part of it. There's no doubt. But I'm not back to 100%, Johnny. If anything, I feel like I got an infection in my shoulder overnight and had to be admitted to the hospital. And
what is that joke?
And took some steps backwards in my recovery. So I've seen better. We'll put it that way. Okay.
I don't get it.
What I would say is that there's a lot of noise around this game. Unexpected noise. Is Quinn Hughes coming? Quinn Hughes isn't coming. Now all of a sudden you're hearing all these words from people talking about the training staff in Boston being angry with the training staff from Minnesota. And this game has now gone up even more. I saw a tweet yesterday that I was really happy, and let me see if I can find it actually. I'll read it out. And it says, in addition to ESPN studio crew, Steve Levy, Mark Messier, and PK Subban being on site, Kevin Negandhi will be hosting SportsCenter from TD. That will lead into an hour-long pregame edition of The Point. So this is a big game. This is like becoming a larger event. I will say I saw there was all this noise surrounding Bill Guerin saying it would be, an honor if the president was in the building for this game, which again, naturally everybody had to have their, in their feelings meltdowns over it. And I just want to say this. I'm disappointed he's not going to be there, no matter who the president is of the United States.
Is that confirmed that he's not going to be there?
That's what the report was yesterday, that he's not going to be there. And what I would like, it doesn't matter who the president of the United States is. You'd want him to be at the game, this type of game. It literally does not matter, Republican, Democrat, independent. It's just, that's a symbol, right? The president is a symbol of office in our country. And so there's just so much around it. PK Subban has been on ESPN programming the last couple of days talking about how much better the NHL is than the NBA, right on ESPN's airwaves, which has been really, really funny to watch because the NBA is ESPN. That's one of their babies.
Yeah, Kevin Durant's been saying stuff too.
Kevin Durant had a tweet that basically said, for your own sanity, watch hockey, not the NBA. The guys are loyal. You will read the tweet here. For the betterment of your mental health and just overall well-being, just don't watch the NBA. Hockey's right there, and they play with that aggression that you may like. They also rarely get traded or go to new teams in free agency, so the loyalty aspect is there. Hope that helps. I see so much around this game. There's all this, 51st state, which I think most people are saying it in a humorous way. You have the Canadian people reacting angrily, which is okay. They can be angry about that. Like, it's just, this game is way bigger than a hockey game, Johnny.
Yeah. And everyone we've talked to has agreed. Everyone around it has agreed. And honestly, like, even a guy like Tage Thompson who gets the call up, like, I was texting with him a little bit last night, just saying, like, congrats, dude. Like, that's sick that you're here. And he was just fired up just to get the call up. He said it's going to be electric. Like, I think he's just pumped, to be a part of the team. Obviously, he doesn't know if he's playing, but to be here tonight and to be a part of this game.
It's awesome.
It's awesome. It's awesome.
It's you put your ego aside, and that's when you get around a group of individuals like this, everybody is the power play guy, the 6-on-5 guy. Everybody puts their egos at the door, whether you're USA or Canada. And I think that's what makes this amazing. And that's why the whole world sort of will be convening on this game tonight. The whole world will be watching this hockey game tonight. And to me, that's amazing. And that's job well done by the players, by the league, by the PA, you name it, man. They all came together for an event. And watching Matthew Tkachuk take shots at Brandon Hagel will never get old. Brandon Hagel's like I knew him a little bit from Chicago when I was there. He got traded, I think, in his second year I was there. But I love watching this whole, I guess you guys aren't friends. You don't have a group chat. Like this is amazing buildup for a hockey game. It really is. Like this is, the winner. This is this is going to be a monumentous moment in the sport of hockey, in my opinion. So is Pat here?
Pat's here. It's like our Super Bowl, just to top it off. Right?
So let's bring Pat in and let's make him a part of this conversation.
Yeah, so before we bring Pat in, just want to give a quick word from our sponsor, Proraso, the most complete choice for shaving and beard care, made in Italy since 1948. Proraso has been a staple of Italian culture and barbershops globally for 4 generations. So get 15% off at Proraso-USA.com with our promo code Hockey15 in all caps Hockey15. Pat, the beard is long, dude. Oh my God. Is it longer than normal?
No, it's not long at all.
Oh, sorry, dude. Jeez,
you just hung over. You can't even see.
Yeah, a little bit. So Pat is straight off of It's a Small World. Welcome back. We're happy to have you back.
I forgot to send those damn pictures. I went to bed at like 8 o'clock. Sorry. After I called you, I went straight to bed. I put my daughter in the shower and I was like, I'm going to bed. But I can send them right now through text.
Yeah, we need the Disney content that we've all been asking for. But just yesterday was the first day back for you guys, right? Or was it 2 days ago?
No, it was 2 days ago. It was Tuesday.
2 days ago. So how much of the chatter around the room was around this tournament when you guys all came together for the first time after break?
Yeah, guys were excited. I think, it's been really good hockey. It's been entertaining, back and forth, like you guys been talking about. Obviously, the USA Canada game got a lot of attention, which is great for hockey, and I think it was perfect timing for what was going on around other leagues, like you guys talked about, the NBA All-Star game, and I think everyone's like, get rid of it now. I think there's been a lot of talk, too, is getting rid of the All-Star game and having like this World Cup, 4 Nations, all this stuff. But again, the league is also losing key players down the stretch, too. So you got to figure out a way of that sense too. Okay, how can we do this? And it seems like they got to hold on it with the World Cup and Olympics. Every 2 years they're going to do it. So that's the biggest part, right? Theodore goes down, and then McAvoy goes down. Tkachuk brothers go down. There's been some injuries, key injuries that probably going to hurt some teams on the stretch here in the next 7 weeks of the season. So. But it's been awesome. I've really enjoyed it. I've tuned into every game. I've watched it. Like you guys said, it's been fast, good players, best on best. And I think it got a lot of attention. And I think hockey's starting to get traction now. I think all the ESPN analysts are seeing it too now. So hopefully hockey gets more out there and people are starting to talk about it, because we're the only sport that entertains fighting too. So when you see that and you see what happened the first 9 seconds, I don't understand why people can't just tune into that. And then when you have McDavid going down on a 1-on-3 and he does what he does, it's fun to watch, right? And but even USA, all those players they have, and the fast pace, and like I said, it's the best players in the world. So I've really tuned in and really enjoyed it.
Pat, let me ask you this. You expect the Royal Rumble start again? Because I'm not sure. I think it will happen like off the face-off again, because I think points have already been proven. But I wouldn't be shocked if you see the Tkachuk brothers start the game and there's a big hit that's thrown in the first shift or two of the game, and that ignites a little bit of a Royal Rumble. Like I guess I don't think it'll be as scripted, but I do think you'll see elements of that, just my opinion. So, curious from your point of view, if you expect that type of start again.
I don't think we'll get that start again. I think that was unbelievable. I think
once in a lifetime, basically.
Once in a lifetime. I don't think we'll get that entertainment, but we will get entertainment with those guys of like in your face scrappiness. Like you said, there might be a big hit, there might be a scrum where it starts a fight. We'll get that. But we're going to get great hockey. I think that's the most important thing. We're going to get the best on best of the United States and Canada. And these guys are going to go toe to toe, no matter how it is. And they're going to be hitting each other. They're playing for their country. They're playing for pride. But you never know. Honestly, you don't know. Honestly, this could be another thing where it's like right out of the gates, what's entertained this, because you got to remember now, USA is on their own soil now.
Yeah.
That was Canada doing that. So we could see it again. We could not, but we will for sure, I think, see a fight maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But this is going to be a back and forth game, entertainment. But I mean, that first 9 seconds, I mean, those Tkachuk brothers, Hagel,
St. Louis kids are lunatics.
Yeah, I mean, they probably gained a lot of fans outside of St. Louis now. And if I'm a St. Louis kid watching that's who I want to grow up to be like. And obviously, the dad should be a Hall of Famer, Keith. But he raised, 2 talented, scrappy players that do everything the right way. And those are throwbacks. Those are throwbacks with a ton of skill, a ton of grit, and unwilling to fight. So St. Louis is obviously, when I went back, there's so much buzz around those two. And it's fun to see because, those two have done a tremendous job in St. Louis hockey and going back to the community. And now with, Matthew winning a Stanley Cup now, it's been great to see. So St. Louis hockey is only going to get bigger with that stuff. So I've really enjoyed it. Those guys are competitors. Obviously, we compete against each other. We throw a lot of church, but it's happy to see another, 2 St. Louis kids go at it and represent their country really well and represent where they're from very well. So, and it's good. They have swagger, like you guys were talking about earlier on. They have swagger. They can give it back, and it's been fun watching the comments back and forth with Hagel and him. And Hagel's a good friend of mine, so I love what he did, and he stood up for himself, and it was a great fight. So it's going to be a war out there, so I can't wait.
I saw Hagel on the man, I don't know,
ESPN or something, right?
The 5:30 ESPN show yesterday, doing an interview, and as you know this, Pat, he's not really a guy that's looking for a lot of media attention. He's obviously probably one way with the guys, and he's a totally different way in front of the camera. He looked all business, we'll just call it, in the interview. And it was just funny because the reporter was doing what you're supposed to do, try to get him to say something that's going to be viral and bring a lot of attention. And he caught himself like 2 or 3 times, Pat, where he said, I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm not going to say anything else. Like, I'm just going to, and then naturally they got Tkachuk, interviewed and they asked him, this is what media members do. And it was a job well done by Brandon Hagel to not say something that would, they'd be able to stir through the media. I'm sure you didn't see that, but it was interesting at least to see Hagel being the face of the media attention yesterday with ESPN.
Well, if I know Coop, I think, when especially in the playoffs, it's always just go about your business. Don't stir the pot. Just answer the hockey questions that you need to answer. Don't continue to add on to the fuel. Because some players, they generate from that, man. And I feel like Matthew and Brady generate a lot of their game through in your face, chirping back and forth, engagement. They play better in that sense. I feel like when they're engaged and they're chirping and they're going back and forth, that's what they want. And, they do a good job of it, really good job. And if I know Coop really well, I guarantee he's telling those guys is, hey, whatever you do in the media today or whatever it was yesterday or today, just it's all business. Answer the hockey questions and move about the day and get ready for the game.
Yeah.
Pat, have you been texting any of the guys? Like you just said, you were friends with Hagel. Have you been talking to anyone that's on either team for tonight?
No, I haven't. I'm not bothering those guys. I think they got a lot going on. They got a lot on their plate, and but I know firsthand that they're really enjoying it, just through my wife and her talking to the girls and stuff. So it's been good. So there's been a lot of good feedback in that sense.
And
There's
what
a
changed
comment.
for you?
There's a comment in the chat, guys, and it says, "Would Matthew Tkachuk have dropped the mitts if Tom Wilson was where Hagel was last Saturday?" I think not. I think you're wrong. I don't think Matthew Tkachuk would have shied away from an MMA fighter who was lined up there, in my opinion. I don't know. Maybe I'm a little crazy there to think that, because obviously Tom Wilson is a tough customer. But Pat, do you think it would have changed anything, no matter who would have been standing there for Matthew Tkachuk?
I don't know. Honestly, that's a call that he's going to make. I honestly don't know. I mean, it seemed like it was the right place, right time. So it didn't matter who it was, I feel like, in that moment. But it seemed like they already planned it, him and Hagel, from what my understanding, his interview in between periods, or I don't know, or whatever it was. I think they asked each other right away. So listen, Tom Wilson fights heavyweights. That's a complete different animal. But do I think Matthew will shy away from that? Absolutely not. I mean, obviously he already knew in that moment what he was doing. If it wasn't Matthew, I guarantee it was Brady. But
Yeah,
it was Tom Wilson.
I think Brady would have went first if that was the case.
Yeah, I just don't know. I mean, those guys are competitors, so I think they would have done anything to pump up their team and do anything for their country. So you don't know what players are thinking in that moment. Some players like Matthew and Brady, they just go, they just don't think, right? Probably, I'm assuming. So I mean, listen, Tom Wilson's a good player. He's a very effective player. He's tough as nails. Has he changed the dynamic of the game? I don't know. But does he change the toughness of like scariness in that lineup? I don't know, because those guys, they seem like they have some scrappy guys on the USA team that are not they're not willing to back down. So
Yeah.
So you just don't know in that moment. But I don't think anyone would have backed down in that moment, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pat, I'm curious too, just for you, like Colby and I talked about, narratives yesterday, and obviously there's been a lot of chatter the last 48 hours since there's been, this little gap between Monday's games and tonight's game. Is there like a storyline or any part of tonight that you're looking forward to most? Like, I know, Brad Marchand, like I'm excited to see, how he's received from the Boston crowd wearing a Canada jersey. I think that'll be pretty fun. Like that's a cool story to look for. Is there anything about these two teams that you're like, oh shit, like I can't wait to see that. Like that'll be sick.
I mean, I think the ovation for Marshy will be sick. Boston player.
Yeah.
I think obviously McAvoy would have been cool too.
Yeah.
Obviously that's an unfortunate situation, but I don't know. I'm just looking for a good hockey game. I'm a fan of the game, and I'm a fan of just watching great hockey, and I can't wait to watch the best on best. But there's a lot of Boston guys on that USA team, so they still might get some nice ovations too. I mean, Hanifin,
Eichel,
Colby, Eichel. God, I'm probably missing more, right?
Kreider.
Yeah.
Off the top of my head, I'm blanking here, but there's a good amount of Boston. But again, like even to what you just said, I remember when we first talked with you about this tournament, you were kind of saying like, I'll be on a beach somewhere. Like I'm not gonna, I don't care, But I think with how the hockey's been, you've been locked in from the start, and I'm curious, was it just because of the product we saw on the ice, or the buildup before it started, where guys like a little bit more of, oh, this is actually going to be sick, like the chatter amongst players before the puck even dropped?
Well, it's funny. I was in Disney, and I'm just sitting there, and long days put you right in the wrapper. And I turned it on as I was laying in bed in Disney, and then my wife would be like, "Oh, someone scored." I'd be like, "Oh, who?" Because I was kind of dozing off. So I would watch like the first period of each game, and then I would kind of fall asleep. And then we were on our way home, and it was on ESPN, so I had it on my phone. and I watched the Canada USA game from start to finish on my phone, and then when I got home, so that caught my eye, obviously,
Yeah.
and watching that whole game and watching those guys compete and go after each other and do their thing. So, but yeah, I think everyone's kind of been locked in. You know, listen, there's TVs everywhere. No matter where you are, it doesn't matter if you're on a beach or a bar or having a cocktail somewhere, walking around. there's a TV, so I'm sure guys all tuned in on it as they're sitting by the beach or sitting at the bar beach, just watching TV and be like, hey, turn the hockey game on because that's the only thing on right now. So a lot of people have tuned in on it, and listen, like I said, I'm just a fan, and I hope this is a great game for not only our sake but the players that are playing in it.
Pat, how much do you remember the '96 game, Pat? And that whole World Cup experience, and were there players that maybe inspired you from that? Obviously, with that whole tournament.
The '96 World Cup game.
Yeah, the U.S. team.
Honestly, I'm gonna give you my honest opinion. I didn't even watch it. I didn't even. But again, I was probably, I don't even know how old I was.
Well, you're what? You're an 80. You're an 89, right? Or are you a 90?
I'm an 88, so I would have been 8 years old.
Right. Okay.
So, yeah, I didn't tune into that one, but obviously there's a lot of, they're going back every time you tune into the game. They go back to that history in the game and all the fights they had, and but I honestly, Colby, I didn't tune into that. I didn't watch it.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, look, we'd rather you just be honest. A lot of that tournament took place in Philadelphia at what was just newly opened, the Core State Center, which is now the Wells Fargo Center. It's obviously gone through a number of names. And so I actually remember going, Pat, which is probably why it's vivid for me. And I grew up such a die-hard John LeClair fan, and he was on that team, and it was part of his sort of, it was a big coming out moment for John LeClair, which is just why I remember it so well, at least from only being 8 years old, like you said at the time. So and not to mention we're having Mike Richter on the show after you today as well. So, obviously a big part of anything USA hockey from a very long period of time. And that's why I asked you about it. I just didn't know if it kind of had the same effect for you as it did for me. And I think that's what this tournament, I think, has the opportunity to do, and has, whether the US wins or loses, so many non-hockey people are now tuned into this thing, as you can see by the ratings. And so I think this will inspire a whole new generation of young boys and girls that are going to want to play hockey. Maybe, I mean, in Canada, you kind of already want to do that, although the data suggests that hockey is actually getting less popular in Canada at the youth levels. Their numbers are getting smaller. Maybe it's because they're just at capacity. I don't know. But hopefully this creates a boom, within the hockey community.
Oh yeah, 100%. I think it's already did. It's already created a boom in hockey. I think with just these games alone, and then just that 9 seconds alone, I think created buzz in hockey, and I think everyone tuned in. And but it's good when Stephen A. Smith is talking about hockey because he hates hockey. So it's good to see those guys kind of bring it along, and I know Pat McAfee does a really good job of trying to put hockey into segments, and but we need more of it, right? And listen, it's a long 82 game season, so it's hard to probably tune into games all the time like this, and you're not going to get sometimes the best games, right? Sometimes guys will tune in and be like, "What is this?" Right? But I think what they're doing now to grow the game and grow the attention to the NHL, and putting the product out there, putting the best players out there, knowingly that, these are the guys you can watch on each team. I think the NHL and the players have done a good job of representing themselves to create a buzz and create, like you said, Colby, like generational kids that are coming up now and watching this, or maybe going to the game, that are, 6 or 10 years old, that get to go to this game and watch the best players in the world, that might go to their dad and be like, I want to go play hockey now. You know what I mean? And that's the unique thing about this tournament that's been going on. So it's for sure got a buzz around St. Louis. I think being back there and talking to everyone, it's, St. Louis has already been a hotbed for hockey after, those, I think it was Matthews' draft when all 5 of those St. Louis kids got drafted in the first round. So I think this is creating more too. So it's only going to get better. And, USA hockey is getting better too. It's the players are better, the product's better, and it's going to only continue to get better. So that's a positive on the USA side.
Do you have any plans as a team tonight to watch the game together, or is everyone kind of just doing their own thing?
I'm going to be sitting on my couch. When 8 o'clock comes around and Goldie's down, I'm going to be sitting on my couch watching the game.
Yeah, Johnny, once you have young kids, a get together after your kids goes to sleep is like one of the worst thoughts you can give a human being that just had to give their entire day to tiny humans bossing them around. So, man, we look forward to 7:30, 8 o'clock in my house like it's the weekend every single night. That is what we look forward to in our house. So I understand where Pat's coming from on that. Pat, let's talk a little bit about the break for you. And obviously you went to Disney with your family. I think everybody is understanding of that. And the time that you spent away from it. But as you sort of reel back in, what does it look like for you guys to ramp back up and get ready to start for the second half? Because the turnaround is quick. We got a gold medal game tonight, and then the league, does it resume on Friday? No, on Friday night. Saturday, the games resume, right? So what's that ramp up now going to look like for you and your teammates in order to get back to, hey, we got a home stretch of games here?
Yeah, we've had a good 2 days of practice. We have a nice day off today. We get back to work tomorrow. Travel to Columbus, and we're right into a back-to-back. So go to Columbus, play in Columbus, come back home, play Toronto on Sunday. And then we're back on the road for, I think, 9 days. But for us as a team, as a whole, I think we have 27 games left. We got to look at that. And our goal and our mentality is to finish above 500. All right, that's our goal going into the end of the season, because we want to set a standard here for guys coming back into training camp next year, and what that standard looks like. We got to do that, and we got to put our foot on the gas here and finish strong here, because we want to be ready and prepared for come training camp, and we want to set that standard right out of the gate. And this is a great opportunity for our team. It was a nice reset. I thought we went into the break playing pretty good. So it's a great opportunity for us to, get everyone on board, playing the right way and looking and showing the players what playing the right way looks like, and doing that for a full 60 minutes. Obviously, you're not going to do that for a full 60, but we want to put a string of games together where, we're a team that understands and competes and plays the right way. And so we have 27, like I said, left, and we want to finish the season above 500. And we want to go into the off season feeling really good about ourselves. And we want to hold a standard in that locker room between, the 23 guys in that locker room, that this is what it looks like. And when you come back to training camp, you better be ready to fucking work. So, and that's our mentality right now. Obviously it sucks because we don't like where we're at, but there's 27 games left, and all you can do is finish hard, compete for your team, and compete for the guy beside you, and hold everyone accountable, and finish the year with with everyone feeling great going into the summer. And then when you get back, it's time to work. So that's what we're looking forward to. And I think obviously these next few weeks too, it's like trade deadline too, so a lot of players will probably be, looking over their shoulder, figuring out what's going on the next few weeks. So we're trying to not let that distract us a little bit. So we're just trying to go out there and play hockey. And like I said, hold that standard in that locker room, because I think that's what we're missing right now. We got to find ways so where guys understand winning hockey is playing the right way, and the willingness to do it for a long period of time, not just for one game, not just for two. It's a stretch of games, and it's hard. And listen, we're going to get everyone's best that are kind of feeding between 6 to 7 or 8 points, right? We're going to get a playoff atmosphere against teams that are fighting and crawling for a playoff spot. So it's going to be a good test for us too. And so it's how we handle it during down this stretch. So that's what I look forward to. And I think the guys feel the same way in that locker room. So we just have to find a way to continue to, grind through this and get better each day.
Well, Pat, you know me. I don't want to skip over Disney. You have one story for us that you can tell? Something funny or something that you hated?
I mean,
too many mutants to choose from.
Yeah, exactly. No, Disney's great. I love it. But some rides are just painful. It's a Small World's painful. It's like 15
we
minutes.
talked about that last night. Yeah.
It's about 15 minutes. It's as a slow pace as you possibly can go. And it goes through all the countries. And some people just love it, and I can fall asleep on it. Like, you're basically touching the other boat. That's how slow you're going, and they just rip I feel like 50 boats, and it's just so slow. But no, I think the moments that I love the most is like seeing my daughter, her smile on her face when she goes sees a princess, or the enjoyment of coming off a ride and how pumped she is, and she's waving to you like on the ride. And I think that enjoyment alone just makes Disney itself. Obviously, the pain of the long days from 11 to 9 p.m. it's long days, but you get a lot of miles when you walk around. But I think seeing my daughter, seeing Mickey, and they do this like breakfast character thing where the characters come around at breakfast and you get to meet them, and just the excitement she has for them coming around is just amazing. And that's what makes it for me. So I really enjoyed it. We went to the park twice, but one of the days was like long.
Mm-hmm.
That was the 9-hour day, but the other day she wanted to see the animals at Animal Kingdom. So we just buzzed around there for I think it was 2 hours, and she got her fix. But it was mostly pool day. Long pool days and just relaxing, because kids can literally swim all day. All day. And I just don't know. I don't see the excitement of swimming. I don't know how they can just run around, jump in the water, go in a lazy river, go into the pool. I'm like,
doesn't get old.
How's this fun? I mean, obviously I look at a beach and you're sitting there with a drink in your hand in the water by yourself, and you're sitting in there peeing in the pool for 7 hours on vacation, like half the other people are doing. So
you're a pool peer, dude?
Yeah,
if you're sitting there for 10 hours.
Pat, you know that everything you just explained about Goldie, whether it's waving as she comes off the ride, going and being so you basically should see the look on Johnny's face, like a sad puppy that you didn't bring him to Disney, because he would be.
I haven't been since I was 7. I'd love to go to Disney.
Johnny would be the same way as Goldie is, as far as wanting to pal around with you at Disney. The videos that I saw some of the boys post of surprising their kids, like Shaddy, they surprised their 2 little ones and literally woke them up and surprised them. We got your bags packed. We're going to Disney. Just the video of their faces is worth its weight in gold. And we haven't done that yet with my kids, but we'll do it soon. Pat, we appreciate your time today, man. We know you got some stuff going on. You guys are getting ready to get back to it on Saturday. We'll certainly be watching and texting you during the game tonight, and we're hoping for a big Team USA win. But we, as always, we appreciate your time. And I guess we can't have you on today without saying to you, stay hot, because nobody went into the break hotter than you. And I think Chicago can use all the good fortune that they can get, so we appreciate it as always, pal.
Yeah, thanks, boys. I appreciate it.
Talk to you soon, Pat.
All right, bud.
Hey.
I think Vic might have just cut him off. I think he was about to say something, but we do have a USA Hockey New York Ranger legend waiting for us in the chat, Mike Richter, who I met actually in the lobby of the Intercontinental in Montreal. And I think we can ask him, but I think I composed myself. Maybe
I doubt you did. I doubt you were composed.
I did like a second take and I was like, oh shit, that's Richter. Like, I gotta say hi.
I thought he was a bellboy. I was going to give him $1 to gas our bags.
I could have used it.
It's too good. Well, welcome to the show, Mike. We having someone like you come on the show for so many different reasons is very humbling for the two of us, and so we're really grateful that you're spending this morning with us. So welcome to the show, and how's your day going so far?
Awesome. Honestly, I was up all last night. I'm so damn excited for this game today. I think everybody in the hockey world is. It could go a lot of ways, but the one constant is just the amount of talent out there. And if you combine that with how motivated everybody in the tournament was, from the Finns and Swedes, everybody's got their pride. You're seeing just great competition.
Yeah.
Are you in Boston?
No, I'm not. I was there Monday, and I had to get back for work and got an event for the New York Rangers tonight. So I'll be watching it from my couch, unfortunately. I'd love to be there live. That place was hopping.
Yeah, I thought they were going to have you do the lineup read tonight.
Yeah, you have to wheel a TV and do a Zoom.
Is it? We had Mike Ruzioni come on the show, a couple of weeks ago, Mike, and I obviously, I can't quite put myself in the shoes. Never played on the senior team, but was fortunate to be a part of, a World Junior and some of these other events. And so anytime I watch Team USA play, for me, it's this special feeling of like, we're all in this together. It's one of the only times I'll ever say we're, even teams that I played for, I don't generally say that. Other than BU, I do use the term we're. But what's it like for you? Because you are such a big part of the history of that logo, right? I mean, you came up at a time when we didn't have a lot of big name American goalies, and it was still a Canada-driven sport. And, but you were part of like a golden era and a golden age.
Well, I think Chucker was saying it, and we've heard Eddie O and a bunch of the guys that have come since that Ruzioni 1980 team. They were our gods. I mean, I grew up in Philadelphia, and we'd play street hockey in the driveway, and I'd go out and pretend to be Bernie Perrant and have little pads going, and Bobby Clark and Rick McLeish. We went in that February or January, whatever it was, in 1980, watched the games, came out. We were Jim Craig, we were Mike Ruzioni, boom, you had new heroes. And you don't have to, I can't remember how old I was, but you don't have to be too old to understand that was something really rare. I mean, that Soviet team was so good. I played against them 8 years later as an 18-year-old, and they just, in order to come in there as a group of college players and beat them was such an amazing thing. And maybe even as impressive was to keep your composure, go out and come from 2 goals behind to beat Finland, if you remember, in order to secure the gold medal. So these guys, there's a book out right now about Kenny Morrow. You start to look down and take the pieces out of those great teams, and you start to see amazing puzzle pieces. Ruzioni, of course, is one of them, just a special dude. Jim Craig was too. Januzak the back. I mean, they just had an amazing squad. And so they were heroes. And my God, back then it was American Association A-House or whatever it was, American Association of Hockey or something, US, whatever. And I really benefited from that. I went to the junior national midget development camps and all that, started to see what real competition's like outside of my little pond in Philadelphia. And I felt like, man, I owe them because they helped me. And, if you get the chance to wear the U.S. sweater, you want to represent it well. And I played a lot, but man, winning is a great feeling. Then you start to think it's you finally gave something back.
Well, Mike, I just want to say this, and you know, you grew up in Abington. I'm from Villanova, and you know, you were the first junior flyer to go through and become a pro, and you know, obviously go on to levels that most of us never really even think about touching. But you went through it first, and then again, granted, I was the goalie at home because I was the youngest brother for most of my life, so they threw me in net. But I obviously wasn't a goaltender, but it was always this. Mike Richter was a junior flyer. Mike Richter played Germantown Academy. You know, I went to Radnor and you know, so and I still live here now. I live in Villanova now. So you were kind of the guy who was the first one to sort of let the rest of us, and there's been a few of us since, not many who are west of the city that have made it to the National Hockey League, but you were the first to do it.
But think about hockey in the US now, right? 300 million people or so. Canada's been the king, and you know, you're going to lose market share because other guys are going, how do I do this? How do I compete? And there's enough great athletes here that if you get a chance to play the game, you're going to love it. It's a fun game to watch, but it's a really fun game to play. And then you see guys like, you know, Chris Chelios spent time in San Diego. Leachy was born in Corpus Christi, Texas. You start having guys coming from these non-traditional and still Boston and Minnesota and Michigan hockey hotbeds. They always will be. But the culture now has changed to down in Tampa. Great players are coming out of there. I coach my 14-year-old on a travel team, and you can go anywhere in America and there's great teams. Illinois, you know, Florida, Arizona, you got Matthews. And so all of a sudden you have this kind of crop coming up from all over the place. What does it mean when you have those numbers at the bottom? And that's a real testament to the U.S. hockey program. You're going to have that top of the pyramid. It's going to be some great players. And I mean, Austin Matthews is certainly one of them. And look at the Quins and all. I mean, you know, Quinn Hughes and the Hughes brothers. Just the level of skill that's coming out here is so impressive right now.
Yeah, I'm a 96 from Long Island. And, you know, our age group on Long Island, like, you know, McAvoy, Fox, all these kids from Long Island now, like, you know, it's crazy what's come from Long Island. But, you know, people in the chat are giving me crap for my excitement to ask you a question. I'm gonna ask you the hardest one you've probably been hit with so far. And, you know, back in 1996, the World Cup of Hockey, you were MVP. And I believe it was a best of 3. Right, between you and Canada. So tonight, if Canada wins, does it even count? Like, how are we going about it?
Never counts when Canada wins, right? When you have these single games, look, both teams are under the same rule, so it doesn't favor one more than another. But over the course of time, if you look, my kids play college hockey, and it's awesome. But when you have that single game elimination, that favors the underdog a little bit. You know, going 7 games against the old Edmonton Oilers, or, you know, back in the day in the 80s, early 80s, that Islander team, you know, you might beat them once. Are you really going to take them 4 times out of 7? That's going to be difficult. So this kind of single game elimination thing, anything can happen, which is why it's kind of so explosive. They're like, holy crap. You know, you go to get a piece of pizza and you've missed half of the game the other day. The first 2 minutes, so much has happened. So every shift will be contested. Every, you know, puck battle, where the face-off is going to be, it all matters because these teams are so evenly matched. And in a single game like this, I mean, I guess I was saying to my wife, you can't be surprised if either team wins because they're both so good, right? You can't walk away and go, oh, I didn't see that coming. Yeah, you did. Connor McDavid, you know, these guys are led by experienced, tremendous players, but so are we. And I think what Ron Wilson said back in 96 is like, it is not a miracle anymore. Okay. We're a great team. They're a great team. Go out and execute. And you don't need a miracle. You just play the way you're capable. And that's the way I feel about this U.S. team.
Yeah. I think it's a coin flip here. Like, I'm not going to be surprised if either team wins this game tonight. But the thing that I always keep going back to, and you couldn't be a better guy to answer this question for us, is the goaltending, right? And everybody's like, well, Binnington in 1 game, he's been there and he's won a cup. He hasn't been the same guy since. And do you agree, though, that he can just draw on that 1 game 7 and then get back to that form? Or, in my opinion, and I would be very, I mean, I bet on it any day,
Yeah.
How does it not favor Connor Hellebuyck with how he's played for the last 4 months and how he's played in this tournament?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. Look, they're both capable of doing it. Actually, go down the list of American goalies. Every one of those guys, Swayman, Ottinger, they're unbelievable. Going to this tournament, just like,
I mean, it's
okay,
crazy.
we're cool there. And that is another testament. There used to be 1 or 2 American goalies. Now you have a slew of them. These guys are great. I was talking to John Van Beesbrook. He's just like, I'm watching Hellebuyck, and the net just disappears. Like in practice, like, what? We're a little shorter. But he's not just a big man. He moves well, and he positions himself and his rebound control. But I think you hit the nail on the head. He's playing very well right now. Maybe if this tournament happened last year and Swayman was on an absolute heater, you go with him. But it's timing. You don't. There's a lot of questions after the first game. Oh, do you throw Hill in goal if you're Canada just to see what you have? No. If he stumbles for 5 minutes, you might be out of the tournament. And that's what makes these things so compelling. You get somebody who's hot, go with them. And Binnington's playing great. Like I do think he's a really capable goalie. But Hellebuyck has been playing great coming into this tournament. He's played great in the tournament. Keep him going.
What do you remember about your game day? And I don't want to compare the two, but you played in the game 3 in 96 and obviously the game 7 of the Stanley Cup final. Are those nerves the same? I got to imagine it does feel a little different, but obviously those are the 2 biggest games of your life. How could you separate those emotions?
It's what, you dream about when you're on the driveway in Philadelphia. You don't say, hey, we're winning 8-0 in the second period. You're saying tie game, overtime, game 7,
Yeah.
And that's what you live for. And then you find yourself in that position. You're like, you got to be kidding me. And it's so cool because what you try to tell yourself in practice and how you compete with yourself in the middle of the summer in July, do you do one more rep? Do you work out a little bit more on that day? You don't feel, you feel crappy. Do you still go to the rink and work out? And you think about that, maybe just push a little bit more. I have just a story on that. I think you walk into those places saying, this is where I want to be more than any place in the world. I can remember walking to MSG just saying that, this is exactly, you couldn't pay me to be anywhere else. I want to be right here, right now in this situation, because that's what you've kind of trained your whole life to be. And it's an awesome thing. The late Herb Brooks called me. I had a knee injury at the end of the year before the last Olympics in 2002. So at the end of 2001, and I was sitting on the couch and my phone rings. It's him. He just said, hey, man, how you doing? All that kind of niceties. You'll be back, blah, blah, blah. The team's this and that. He said, look, if you talk to Leachy and Madano and Guerin, tell them to do one more, just one more. We're not going to skill anybody in this tournament. They're all great. The Russians, the Canadians, but someone's going to have to want it more than the other guy. So do one more rep, one more something, just so when you walk into that game 7 or anything else, you have confidence and you've been there and you deserve that win. And I think that's a big deal. And so you're asked about the morning of the games. You're just like, dude, this was why, your mom takes you at 5 a.m. This is why you play through injuries. This is why you work yourself silly in the summer. And it's the funnest thing in the world. And when it works out, it just, sometimes you wake up and go, God, how lucky are you to be in that position?
Yeah. Well, and I think a lot of people, Mike, would use the word clutch amongst other words when they talk about you and your career. And, I know you do some coaching now. Obviously you mentioned your one son plays at Union. I think you have more than just one, right?
Yeah, my other guy plays at Yale. He's a sophomore. My middle guy is probably the smartest of them all. He swims.
Oh yes, he is the smartest.
Swimming with Pat, you got to convince Pat to get in the pool.
He is the smartest of them all. But I'm just curious, from your perspective, because you've now kind of circled the wagons as a player. You've coached at the D1 level. You've helped with USA Hockey. You've coached the youths. Is being clutch something you can teach? Is that mental preparation? Is that why you always seem to come up with the biggest saves in the biggest moments of your career? And I grew up a Flyers fan, Mike, and you're a local guy, but boy, did you kill the Flyers. I mean, you killed the Flyers.
They took a few strips out of me, believe me. Eric and crew, the Legion of Doom, they were, what a great team. But I think you asked a really good question. Think about the level of play that you've seen across this tournament. These guys all have skill. And I watch the college. These guys move. They are really skilled players. But as you mature and you do get better with age, Wayne Gretzky once said, I'm better at 28 than I was at 24. And people are like, what? And he's like, I still think I'm getting better. It's because between your ears, you get stronger. You understand what makes yourself tick, and you apply yourself in a way. So like, by the time I retired, your body starts to deteriorate, but your mind and your approach just gets better honed. I've been playing for almost 30 years when I retired. So I know how to get through an injury. I know how to, when I get up in the morning, I feel like crap, or I just let in 2 bad goals. Can you save the third shot? That's the staying power that you need as a real pro. And you have to approach it that way in a real professional manner. I mean, a small P professional. Like you have to envision that in practice and be able to be ready. So there is a game 7 and your team can rely on you. And I think, to answer your question directly, absolutely you can train for that. And it's the hardest and the last thing I think to fall into place. And what separates a Sid Crosby or a Gretz is that they had that mental toughness and that ability to be clutch at such a young age. And it only got better with time. So you're seeing that. I mean, nobody in this tournament doesn't have that. They're all winners. But it's pretty cool to have your best game at the right moment.
But we'll see. There's varying degrees. Like,
for sure.
Even amongst the elites, we're seeing the separation of the lineup 100%. To why you would use Sidney Crosby in overtime when you've got McKinnon and McDavid, but yet 100%. You're going to still go with the 37-year-old Sidney Crosby so I do think we'll find out tonight.
You know what's scary about that too is you're not only seeing the elite players, that's pretty clear on the ice, but you see some pretty elite thinking on the coaching staff.
I agree with that.
Sullivan knows his stuff. It is not easy to coach. He coached in Pittsburgh, obviously. How do you keep, Sid Crosby happy and Malkin happy? It's not always that easy. And somebody's sitting on the bench that scored 50 goals in that overtime. They're not pleased. So you have to manage that. And they figure this stuff out. And the only answer in that situation is put the right guys out there and win. That's the only answer you can have, or else you're going to be taking it.
Yeah. And Mike, I got to ask just about that 96 team and the personalities. And, I always love hearing a good story. I'm sure whenever you guys get together, there's got to be one that always comes back up. But, something that probably gets lost too is that like Lou Lamoriello was the GM of that team also. And I've heard a lot of good Lou Lamoriello stories.
No facial hair.
when you guys get together though, Tkachuk, Guerin, Doug Weight, Lafont, all these names, Leach, like what is the one story that is always the one that you guys love to reminisce about?
Honest to God, on that team, that is the tightest team I've ever been on, next to our championship team in New York. And I do think there's a reason for that. As Herb Brooks used to say, you didn't become friends because you won. You won because you were tight. You were friends going in. And think about it. You have all these guys coming all over, egos all over the place, great skill, sure. But, everybody's got their own agenda. Some guys are going through contract negotiations. Other guys just, became the man wherever they're playing. And now you got to sit on the bench and watch somebody in front of you. It can go south really quickly in these tournaments. It's an all-star tournament, right? And if you can find a way to have this cohesion and that glue and that family atmosphere, which both Tkachuk seem to talk about really well in this locker room, you are hitting some gold. Because like we walked in August, guys are tired. It's a long season and you're out there skating a month early. And Lou Lamoriello, hey man, it's a privilege to wear this uniform. You don't want it. There's the door. He kind of said, either be here all the way or get the hell out. And he set that tone. And then you had this Guerin and Tkachuk, these two young guys, tough as nails, care about nothing other than winning. And they were the funniest damn guys. We were the first game that was played in the new arena in Philadelphia.
Core State Center, it was called at the time. I came in 96.
They're still painting it when we're walking in on it. It was, getting set for this big game against Canada in the prelim round. And we're at a press conference afterwards, after practice, and you hear this boom, laughter, boom, laughter. These two idiots are doing cannonballs into the hot tub in the Flyers locker room. And the water's coming up and hitting the ceiling. They're still fixing this place, and it's just being absolutely destroyed. It's just them. And they're coming up and doing can openers and cannonballs and whatnot. It was just so Billy and Tkachuk were just the funnest guys to be around. You'd finish your pregame meal. Most guys bomb up to the room, get a nap, go to the game. You'd sit around laughing, just hearing what they had to say. And from the get-go, we had a tight team. And I think that's what you're seeing with the USA right now. And that bodes well for tonight.
it's obvious that those boys were raised in the locker room
Oh my God.
by Big Walt, who is such a treat. I mean, he there's no more like every year at the Frozen Four, Mike, and I know you used to come and it's actually the first time that I met you was when you were giving out your trophy in the, I think, Chicago Frozen Four. But one of the best nights, obviously Barry's not with Butchie and I anymore doing the games, which sucks because Barry's Mr. Story, but there's always a night out at the Frozen Four with Big Walt, and we laugh harder, we drink more, and we have a better time our one night out at the Frozen Four every year with Keith Tkachuk, who is just continues to be this incredible personality and ambassador for the game.
It's unbelievable.
I just can't imagine what he was like as a 20-something-year-old. Like, I just can't even imagine.
You know, he had both sides of that coin, though. He's such a fun guy and truly a great guy. But he also, I mean, the guy was a warrior. You know, he's the one who's taking on Claude Lemieux or, taking a cross check to the squash. He'll do anything to win. And you see that in his kids. And it's no, I guess, coincidence that team seems very tight. You got two of his offspring there, and you got Billy Guerin as the GM.
Yeah.
It comes around, I guess, right?
Did you realize at the time, because I think we're experiencing right now, going into the tournament versus the feeling of this game, in 96, was that feeling similar maybe going in versus, the feeling of winning it to what we're experiencing today?
Well, I don't know if this answers the question, but I did mention this the other day. You go into these tournaments, this Four Nations tournament's the first time. It's in lieu of an all-star game. So you're like, okay, well, guys just going to, kind of check a box and get out of there. And then I was walking to the Bell Center that first game, and it seemed like, wow, I don't know. There's just a buzz, and the people on their toes. I was talking to Billy Guerin. He said the guys are so excited to play. And all of a sudden you just go, oh my God, you got something here. They were just a little bit of trash talk and all the stuff that goes with it. Because, these are friends and teammates that you're playing with, in the locker room. Mess and Gravy were on the 96 Canada team. So, you joke a little bit about it in practice. Afterwards, we didn't joke so much because it wasn't so funny. But, you give each other some ribbing and everything else. And there's a buildup. And so you still, even in the 96 World Cup, you don't know what you have. You come in there and go, okay, here we go. And then you start realizing, wow, that first practice, guys were dialed in. Like Brett Hull was saying, hey, he's never been on, a practice with that level of quickness and the passing. And you're doing 3-on-0 drills and you're just ding, 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 net. Ding, 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 net. And I was like, oh my God, am I even here? So, you have to adjust to that speed and then everything ramps up. And that's exactly what happened in this tournament. So going in, little question mark, then all of a sudden you just notice there's a little switch that went and it's like, this is playing for keeps. And it's a great thing to be part of.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, anytime I see a highlight, Mike, because you brought up the whole 96 thing with being at the Core State Center. It's one of my earliest hockey moments. I remember opening night in that building for the Flyers. They played against the Florida Panthers, and I can still remember John Van Beesbroek's shiny, sparkly mask was kind of the first guy to do it. I'm sure you remember it being a part of Goalie Nation. But that 96 World Cup, as I'm an 89, is a core memory for me. And I can visualize the jerseys, and I still remember the video where USA scores and they do the cutaway to the guy in the stands and he's going like I can visualize it. It's
in his mind.
It's amazing. So I think
we have an international game, right? You think about the teams that are fielded, from Finns, Swedes, Canada, US, Russia, Czechs, Kazakhstan. You play them in the Olympics. Don't go to sleep on them. These players can play. And so these international tournaments aren't a single dream team. There's about 6 of them out there that all legitimately think they can win the championship and can.
And so they can. Yeah.
You just, it's what a privilege to be part of this. And I hope it happens. I guess part of the beauty of it is a buildup, after many, many years of not having it, but what a treat. You couldn't have asked for better.
Yeah.
Mike, we really appreciate your time this morning too. Seriously.
Awesome, guys.
We don't want to keep you too long.
Yeah.
There is one thing I have to say just for my friend Brett, because he'd give me crap if I didn't say it.
Yeah.
Growing up, I think he was 10 years older than me and always in the basement. It was saved by Richter, saved by Richter. That's what I grew up hearing. So I had to say that.
Well, We all started as fans, right? So I'm a fan now too, and I walking out of that arena, like there's grizzled veterans just going, wow, wow. So
Mike, how did you end up at Wisconsin, being from this area? I mean, it's not. Look, we don't have a hotbed now.
Sure.
We have a lot of hockey here. I know you don't live here anymore, but I mean, you go to Iceline. The women's program for the junior Flyers is what's really overtaken the men's program. I mean, they're littering Division I hockey with female junior Flyer players. The men not nearly quite at that level, but we have. Look, there used to be 3 teams in this area. Really, for you, there might have only been 2. At least when I came up, there were 3. But you end up in Wisconsin, which I always was curious about how the migration there happened.
Well, I wasn't going to play at home, right? Because Penn had dropped their program, I think early 80s, maybe. There just wasn't Division I hockey here. I keep waiting for Rutgers or Villanova. I mean,
amazing.
Such a hockey town, Philadelphia, and it would just be awesome to see. But so I wasn't going to be playing in my hometown. And then it's either go to Boston or somewhere out in the Midwest where the kind of hotbeds were then. And I looked kind of everywhere. I every place I went, I loved. My roommate who back in Wisconsin was Tony Granado, and he wrote me a recruiting letter with the coach, in red pen. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. So that sort of got the hook. But I looked at Harvard had a great team back then. They had a senior, then ended up winning the championship, who was Brent Blair, who was a great player. So I figured I got 2 years to get myself onto the Olympic team in '88, and I want to get in there and play. And Wisconsin was a good fit for that. They had a great program then, and played a lot more games than you did in the East. So, you're not going to go too wrong. All these programs are so damn good, but that was a great experience for me and a great place to go to school. So, yeah, it was a little odd. Like I wouldn't have said I want to go to the Midwest, but you take your recruiting trips and go, man, I can live in this town. Madison's great.
It's an awesome town. Totally agree with you.
That was like my dream school when I first saw it, and then they never talked to me.
It happens. It happens. Yeah. And like Tony, I played for Tony when I was drafted in Colorado. He was there, Mike. We've had Tony on this show. Like, there's great not guy. Many people that have treated me better, with from hockey royalty than Tony Granado has. I know he treats everybody that way.
And you look at, and he's all about development. I think that's such an important thing because, you have some of these guys that are ordained at 12 years old, and some of them come through. A Sid Crosby, he's that guy.
He's the exception to the rule, not the rule.
You need that next 5 or 10 years to really develop, and he's all about just getting better incrementally. Every day, go out there and get a little bit better. And I just find him to be, the right kind of guy to be around young kids because they need somebody. Don't just go out and win. Are you improving, walking away from that game, that practice? And I think he's exceptional at that. And I've really learned a ton from him.
Before we let you go, Colby, you have any final thing to say?
No. I mean, I could ask him questions for the next 6 hours, but go ahead, ask your last question and let's let him go.
Mike, you can expect more texts from me to come back on the show later in the year.
Anytime, man. I don't do much.
Yeah, but I mean, I think this question has to be asked. What was the party like in '96 when you guys went in Montreal?
It's funny because, I guess you want to go out and whoop it up. But there's not a lot of places that open up their arms and say, hey, Americans, come on in here. Let's celebrate our national pastime being, south of the border now with the champions. So Chris Chelios had played there, knew everybody, every bar, every nook and cranny.
Shocker.
Of course, being the Greek fellow who was, went out to a Greek restaurant and had an absolute blast. And the big thing was like, now you don't want it to end because this thing's going to have a terminal point and you win and that's the way it's supposed to be. But you got to say goodbye to all these guys. We wish you could keep that team together all year and just keep rolling. But that was amazing. We tried to keep it somewhat quiet, but of course we did. And just had an absolute blast because the big thing is on that team, all you want to do is just hang with the guys, and Chris made sure we had a good time and we had no problem following that lead.
Well, that's what I'm wondering tonight. If
they are the party, him and JR, the party directors.
Yes, sir. On and off the ice, they're good leaders.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, come on, Boston, that place is going to go berserk. So that'll be you don't have to hide that party, that's for sure.
Yeah, if USA wins tonight, I'm following that trophy around somehow.
Yeah,
It was
exactly.
it was just like 2011 in Vancouver. We couldn't stay in Vancouver. We had to get on the plane. We had to get back to Boston, and we got back at 5 o'clock in the morning, and the city was ready to accept us at 5 o'clock in the morning. Winning on Canadian soil, not always the best thing. Different, obviously, totally different situation. Not apples to apples. But Mike, look, we're so grateful that you spent some time with us today. Hopefully we'll get your boys in the NCAA tournament one of these years, and we can, Butchie and I can get you on with us for a little intermission segment or something like that.
But great, man. I'm glad we bumped into each other. Thanks so much for setting this up. Had a blast, guys, and go USA. It'll be an awesome game tonight.
Yeah, enjoy the game, Mike.
Out of the Bellboy.
That's the best. It makes this whole thing worth it. Have a good day, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Take it easy, guys. Bye now.
Appreciate it. It was funny. I was actually on my way back from the Creator game, and he was like, "Oh, did you just skate?" And I was like trying to explain what I just did.
He's like, Creator game?
Yeah, I was like, "Yeah, I just played, like a pickup game at the Bell Center." He's like,
"Did you get to keep all your stuff from the Creator game? All of it?"
All of it.
How many sets of gear do you now have after all these little Creator games that you have?
A good amount. But what's funny is obviously I got a jersey with my name on it, and I was like, I can't wear that to the game. You know what I mean?
No.
I look like the biggest loser ever.
What you should do is you should have tried to get all the guys to sign it.
Yeah, like the guys on the team, you're saying, or
you should ask Charlie. You should see if Charlie can. It's probably going to be too tough at this point.
I don't know if I'm like, dude, you already give me enough shit. You want me to go ask for an autograph with a jersey with my own name on it?
You are a super fan. What's the difference? Whose
Can you
name
imagine
is
that?
on
Me
it?
walking up, hey, this is a USA jersey with my name on it.
I can imagine you doing that. This does not sound that far-fetched. You got your hair cut like Matthew Tkachuk and just for the game.
That was for
tonight.
Proraso. You look good.
Not great, but
they did a good job. We had a fun day yesterday, me and Shane LaChance. It was awesome.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it was good stuff. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. He's a beauty. He said he'd come on too because he likes me and we're boys.
He texted me after and he said, "What's this guy's deal?"
All right, let's get into our next order of business. Is there something around the game that you want to discuss before we kind of wrap it up today? I got nothing. I feel like we've talked it to.
Yeah, I think just my overall thought here tonight is that nothing will surprise me. I think this game is a toss of the coin. I think it's just going to come down to which goalie blinks. I really hope Brady Tkachuk is healthy because as much as Matthew Tkachuk has gotten a lot of the ink, I think Brady Tkachuk is actually the bigger pulse of this whole thing, the way that he's played. I think he's been, him or Jacob Slavin has probably been the MVP. I mean, I guess you'd have to say Connor Hellebuyck as well. But I also think for Team Canada, I think Braden Point is going to probably be a difference maker tonight. I think, I'm really interested to see what level does McDavid go to tonight, because I think he goes to another level. I really do. I think McDavid puts on the cape tonight. And when McDavid puts on a cape, you're in trouble. There are going to be moments in this game where you're holding your breath, hoping for a save or hoping for a lucky bounce. And so I just think this is going to be great. And regardless of what happens in this game, I think that, it's safe to say this new crop of talent led by the Tkachuks and the Hugheses is here to stay. And they're here to compete at the top level with the Canadian players at this point. I think it'll be the biggest thing is, I think what favors the Americans in this tournament over other tournaments with Canada is that the Americans can play NHL style hockey. When you have an IIHF event, it's difficult to play this style of hockey without parading to the penalty box. So I think, that helps the Americans, where I think the Canadians would have that edge in other formats and other teams. But ultimately, I think this is going to be awesome. And I think nothing is going to surprise me. And I just, again, I hope this ends up a 3-2 overtime win for Team USA. That is my hope and prediction for this hockey game is an overtime win, and a really, really tight, low scoring game is my hope.
I want to say if it goes to overtime, I don't even think like I'd be nervous. I think I'd just be like, this is sick. Like no matter what happens, like this is so cool. Like I don't know if that would be like a nerve kind of thing, but there is one thing I wanted to bring up that I haven't heard anyone discuss that I actually pointed out last night at dinner with a couple people. We were talking about it. I don't think there's been one offside challenge, one coach challenge, one goalie interference.
Yeah, you talked about this on the show yesterday.
Did I talk about it on the show?
Yeah, you brought it up.
There has not been one.
Yeah.
And I don't know what about this tournament has made that happen, but we spend so much time talking about these controversial calls.
The 1% of the 1%. That's probably why these guys are
yeah. Some guys were saying the empty net goal that Gensel scored might have been offside. I guess that was the one.
Yeah, but but Canada looked at it. You think they wouldn't have challenged like that they made a decision that it wasn't offsides. So
but it's crazy that there hasn't been one call, like not one.
Well, the refs have done a phenomenal job in this tournament. Again, I'm sure there's been a couple of little misses. I don't know how that hit on McAvoy from Yoel Armia wasn't. I mean, that as the more you watch that, the worse that looked. But
at the game though, I didn't think anything. Like I didn't really. I guess I was on the far side, but like it didn't seem like a huge deal at the time.
Yeah. So I just think you gotta give the refs credit. Like I just think the officiating has been really good, and I gotta think they're like, we gotta stay out of this game tonight. Like I'd be shocked if there's more than 2 power plays for each team. I really would. Maybe 3, maybe. I think they're gonna go in with a plan to stay out of this one.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree.
So let's are we doing out west today, or are we saving that for tomorrow?
We're gonna do out west tomorrow. We'll probably do like our out west worst player of the game or something like that. I don't know if we want to pick on one guy, but I can imagine we both
can pick on one guy.
We both have the same player in mind. I'm sure. He wears.
Oh, I don't have anybody in mind yet.
Oh, there's going to be someone to.
You're already willing to give Mitch Marner the worst player of the game.
I knew it.
Already, he hasn't even. I mean, you're not even going to give the guy an opportunity to play the hockey game tonight.
Oh, I knew it.
You got to at least give the guy an opportunity to play tonight.
I won't say what the bet is, but I made a really funny bet with Nick here in our Airbnb with Daily Faceoff about Mitch Marner getting into a fight tonight.
I feel like
I'll tell you off air.
What if Mitch Marner just decides it's his coming out party tonight and he secures his $8 million or his 8-year, $14 million a year extension with Toronto with his effort tonight? Maybe he'll do it. I mean, there's no lack of talent.
Hey, I'm rooting for him, honestly. That guy takes.
I'm not. What are you rooting for him for?
He seems like a great kid.
Canada. Honestly. What's wrong with you?
I'm not rooting for him to win. I just don't want him to get shit on.
He deserves it.
He gets so much crap.
Yeah, but he deserves it.
All right, I'm just softer than you.
He deserves it. And Zach says Mitch doesn't have that in the bag, Colby. Yeah, I would agree with you. That he clearly lacks something down below his waist, and generally shows up when it gets to be problematic. But let the guy play the game before you name him worst player of the game. I mean,
I didn't name it. I knew that's where I knew your brain, you know?
Yeah.
I didn't even have to say it. That's the point.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to Bet365. And, Vic and I obviously spent a lot of time talking about it this morning. And just to save all my bases and to cover my own ass, I think I have to just say Canada money line. So there's no jinx on my part.
I would have been very angry with you if you picked USA in Bet365. I would have been really angry with you.
I really do like the under in this game though at 5.5, minus 135. Like that is to me the best pick of the game. Just because I do think it's going to be so tightly checked, like maybe a 2-1 game, a late goal to win it. But we're going Canada money line just so I can jinx it. But I do think it's going to be low scoring. I think the first period, honestly, I think we'll come out of it 0-0. I think it'll be one of those games where like the first goal comes late and then the game opens up a little bit. Who's making fun of me?
I'm laughing at Vic's comments about Mitch Marner's coming out party, but I'm not going to go into what Vic said in the chat.
Any final thoughts before we wrap up today's show? Who is your game-winning goal prediction? I'm saying Matthews gets the big one.
You think, huh?
I think Matthews gets the big one. I feel like it's always these games too, like, oh, his first of the tournament couldn't come at a bigger time.
Yeah, I think Jack Eichel, and I think the big boy line for Team USA is going to have to be the difference. But I see Gensel from Ben Benya in the chat. Listen,
Ben's been pushing Gensel all week.
but what does Gensel ever do except step up in the biggest moments with the biggest offensive? And how about this? Like, I don't think I've given Jake Gensel enough credit for how good he is in his career. Like, I think if it's doable or I'm ready to give Jake Gensel even more flowers. Like, the guy's just been nothing but outstanding his whole career. And for whatever reason, I've always slighted him. I truly just think I've always kind of been like, I don't know, like, really? Like,
UNG gave me shit earlier this year when I said he'd score 50 this year.
We're putting him in that category. And then, man, you just watch his 200-foot game. He might be the most complete player that there is on this team. Like, complete player with the offense that he's scored. He's got more goals than anybody on the team.
In the tournament right now, he's been playing the most complete.
That's what I'm saying right now.
In the NHL, like,
his level of completeness in this tournament, offensively and defensively, who's been more complete in both zones for Team USA?
I think Eichel has
maybe Eichel. Maybe
really
Eichel.
Yeah.
He's got a bunch of points. So I'm laughing at the chat.
J-Rock?
Canada wins in overtime, and McDavid rolls in a MAGA hat to accept the MVP trophy. That's funny. I mean, you can't not laugh at that. You really can't. But again, Jack Eichel has gone to here. Would love to see Austin Matthews bump up his game a little bit, not just be a defensive stud. I'd love to see Austin Matthews go get into the pile tonight and make some plays in traffic. So we'll see. Listen, it's going to be hard to watch the NHL this weekend and next week. It's going to be hard. It really is going to be hard. Like, it's problematic. And I see First VAR Rifleman says Jack Hughes needs to show up too. I don't think this is going to be a Jack Hughes coming out party. I think we just got to hope Jack Hughes has a good 200-foot game. I think that's kind of has to be his role. I don't think you're looking at him in a night like tonight with the physical play that's going to happen and think it's going to be a Jack Hughes night. That's just my guess here. So flip a coin, John. Flip a coin.
This is actually hilarious. Fox News tweeted out a link to an article that says, ex-Team Canada star says country will have national emergency if team loses to U.S. in Four Nations final. And the ex-Team Canada star is Biz. It's pretty funny. Which has tweeted a quote of it, like laughing at it. Ex-Team Canada star.
Listen, if USA wins, be ready for the jokes. They will be coming. Just like the last time they won, the jokes were coming, and it's okay for joking. Joking is okay. And if Canada wins, we're
saying it should have been best of three.
Talk shit all you want. You get to. You won. You get to talk shit, and we have to take it, and we have to eat it. Just like if the Americans win, be ready to have people talk shit and be ready to eat it, and that's all okay. It's all okay. And look, right now, U.S. has one win this tournament against Canada, and Canada has one loss against the Americans. That's all we got for now. We'll see if it evens at one, and if Canada gets the gold and Americans get the silver, or if the Americans are able to beat them twice within a week. We'll see. We'll see.
And reminder, we have a show tomorrow.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Are we having a guest? I'm not sure if
we'll decide later. We'll figure that out later.
It's going to be tough. Everyone will be out partying tonight too, no matter what the result is. So you're going to have to carry us tomorrow, Colby. I know I carry us most days, but tomorrow I'm going to have to count on you.
Yeah, you really do a great job of carrying us.
You can end the show now before you make fun of me.
Yeah, so come be with us tomorrow for the Friday show. If you don't, and our numbers suck tomorrow, then
Fridays.
Then we just when we're negotiating our next contract, we just remind our bosses that, hey, we can't do Fridays because people don't show up. So I'm laughing. J-Rock says I'll miss the end of the game with all the NyQuil. I am not a NyQuil guy. I get terrible dreams from NyQuil, J-Rock. So, but I can't, I certainly don't feel good, and I'm definitely going to be hopping myself up with stuff to stay hot and to stay in it here. So, Johnny, great job getting Mike Richter to come on the show today. Not
Thank
good
you.
job, great job.
Thank you.
I asked John LeClaire, Adam Gilkis, and to you other Flyers fans, and I got a response from him that said, I don't do media stuff. And it's true. John doesn't, he's not a media guy. He never has been. He never will be. He's pumped for the game. He's another local guy, lives 10 minutes from me, from where I live. Another American legend, but great job getting Mike Richter. I gave you a lot of shit, about this whole, oh yeah, so-and-so's coming on the show. So-and-so's coming on the show. So
I was nervous for a bit. I was nervous.
You delivered. And I will give you credit for that as I usually do not.
I will text Danny Wade. I'm friendly with Danny Wade. I'll text Danny to see if Doug can maybe hop on tomorrow. I don't know.
Yeah, well, let's see how this goes tonight, and we'll regroup on it. So, give us a like on the episode. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. This tournament ends in 2 weeks till trade deadline, just about maybe 2 weeks and a few days, which is Super Bowl time basically. So make sure you guys are dialed into the Daily Face-Off YouTube channel, and we'll get back to me asking Johnny about Alexis Lafreniere and his 100 points here in the next couple of days. So with that, we appreciate everybody today. The chat was lively. I like the positivity in the chat today. I thought that was a nice touch. No Jeremiah today, though. He must be resting up.
He's tweeting. He tweeted at me.
He is. I didn't see Jeremiah in the chat. Maybe he did. I was gonna say he might be resting up, sleeping in today, thinking that he's got to get his game face on for all the way out there in Alaska to get ready for the big Team USA win. So Johnny, with that, we appreciate all of your time today, and we'll see you guys for a special teaser Friday edition of Morning Cup of Hockey right here tomorrow, 9 a.m. Thanks for rolling with us, everybody.
What's up, hockey fans? If you enjoyed that video, then you need to be hitting the subscribe button right here at Daily Faceoff. Exclusive interviews and analysis from our hockey insider Frank Saravalli, fantasy updates from Brock Sagan, and a daily live show at noon Eastern, Monday through Friday. You don't want to miss any of the fantastic content, so hit that subscribe button.